In the land of Canaan lived a young man named Joseph, the son of Jacob and Rachel. Out of Jacob's 12 sons, Joseph was the one he loved most, for he had been born to him in his old age. To show this special love, Jacob gave Joseph a coat of many colors, richly woven and radiant. This visible sign of favor sparked jealousy among his brothers. Joseph also had dreams, prophetic dreams that stirred even more envy. In one dream, he saw sheaves of grain in a field. His sheaf rose upright while his brothers' sheaves bowed down to it. In another, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed to him. When he shared these dreams, his brothers were furious. "Will you really reign over us?" they mocked. Even Jacob questioned him, but the old father quietly pondered his son's words. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were pasturing the flocks in Shechem. As Joseph approached, they conspired against him. "Here comes the dreamer," they hissed. They stripped him of his colorful robe and threw him into a dry cistern. Though some wanted to kill him, they eventually sold him to a caravan of Ishmaelite traders. Joseph was taken far away to Egypt, while his brothers dipped his robe in goat's blood and lied to Jacob, saying Joseph had been devoured by a wild animal. Jacob mourned deeply, refusing comfort. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, a captain of Pharaoh's guard. Though he was a slave, God was with Joseph. Everything he did prospered. Potiphar placed him in charge of his entire household. But trouble arose when Potiphar's wife tried to seduce him. Joseph refused, saying, "How can I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" In anger and humiliation, she falsely accused him, and Joseph was thrown into prison. Yet even in prison, the Lord was with Joseph. He found favor with the warden and was placed in charge of the other prisoners. During his time there, 2 of Pharaoh's servants, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, were also imprisoned. Each had a troubling dream. Joseph interpreted their dreams. The cupbearer would be restored to his position, the baker would be executed. The dreams came true, just as Joseph said. Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him, but once released, he forgot. 2 years later, Pharaoh himself had 2 disturbing dreams: 7 fat cows devoured by 7 skinny cows, and 7 healthy heads of grain consumed by 7 scorched ones. None of Pharaoh's magicians could explain them. Then the cupbearer remembered Joseph. He was quickly summoned from prison. Standing before Pharaoh, Joseph humbly said, "I cannot interpret your dreams, but God can." He explained that the dreams meant 7 years of abundance would be followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph advised Pharaoh to store food during the plentiful years. Impressed by his wisdom and God's favor on him, Pharaoh made Joseph governor over all of Egypt. Second only to Pharaoh himself, Joseph managed the land wisely. When the famine came, Egypt was prepared. People from surrounding nations came to buy grain, including Joseph's brothers. They did not recognize him, but they bowed before him, fulfilling his earlier dream. Joseph tested them, to see if their hearts had changed. He accused them, planted a silver cup, and questioned their loyalty. But when Judah offered to become a slave in place of Benjamin, Joseph's heart broke. He revealed himself, saying through tears, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But do not be afraid, it was not you who sent me here, but God, to preserve life." He forgave them completely. Back in Canaan, Jacob was stunned to hear Joseph was alive. "My son is still alive. I will go and see him before I die," he exclaimed. He and the entire family, 70 people in all, moved to Egypt and settled in the land of Goshen, where Pharaoh gave them rich land to dwell in. Joseph embraced his father with joy, and when Jacob passed away, Joseph mourned deeply. His brothers feared he would now seek revenge, but Joseph reassured them again, "Am I in the place of God? What you meant for evil, God meant for good, to save many lives. Joseph lived a full life, witnessing generations of his children grow up. Before he died, he reminded the Israelites of God's promise: one day He will bring you out of this land and into the land He swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He asked that when that day came, his bones be carried back to the promised land. Moral of the story: God's plan is always greater than human betrayal. Dreams may be delayed, but they are never denied. Forgiveness frees not only others, but your